Princess Bride by S. Morgenstern. Chapter 1. Buttercup was raised on a small farm in the country of Florin. Her favorite pastimes were riding her horse and tormenting the farm boy that worked there. His name was Wesley, but she never called him that. Isn't that a wonderful beginning?
Oh, yeah, it's really good.
Nothing gave Buttercup as much pleasure as ordering Wesley around. Buttercup is in her late teens, doesn't care much about clothes, and she hates brushing her long hair, so she isn't as attractive as she might be, but she's still probably the most beautiful woman in the world.
Farm boy, polish my horse's saddle. I want to see my face shine in it by morning.
As you wish.
As you wish was all he ever said to her.
Farm boy, fill these with water, please.
As you wish.
That day, she was amazed to discover that when he was saying, as you wish, what he meant was, I love you. And even more amazing was the day she realized she truly loved him back.
Farm boy, fetch me that pitcher.
As you wish.
Then, against the most beautiful sunset you could imagine, Wesley and Buttercup share their first passionate kiss.
Whoa, hold it. What is this? Are you trying to trick me? Where's the sports? Is this a kissing book?
Wait, just wait. Keep your shirt on. Let me read. Wesley had no money for marriage, so he packed his few belongings. He left the farm to seek his fortune across the sea. It was a very emotional time for Buttercup.
I don't believe this.
I fear I'll never see you again.
Well, of course you will.
But what if something happens to you?
Hear this now. I will come for you.
How can you be so sure?
This is true love. You think this happens every day?
He smiles at her. She smiles too, throws her arms so tightly around him. They kiss. Then, as Wesley walks away, Buttercup watches him go. Wesley didn't reach his destination. His ship was attacked by the dread pirate Roberts, who never left captives alive. When Buttercup got the news that Wesley was murdered,
Ooh, murdered by pirates is good.
she went into her room and shut the door. And for days, she neither slept nor ate.
I will never love again.
5 years later, the main square of Florence City was filled as never before to hear the great announcement of the great Prince Humperdinck's bride-to-be. Prince Humperdinck, a man of incredible power and bearing, standing in his royal robes on a castle balcony, 3 others standing behind him, an old couple with crowns, the aging king and queen, and a dark-bearded man who seems the prince's match in strength. This is Count Rugen.
My people, a month from now, our country will have its 500th anniversary. On that sundown, I shall marry a lady who was once a commoner like yourselves. But perhaps you will not find her common now. Would you like to meet her? My people, the Princess Buttercup.
Then, with a grand fanfare, Buttercup walked into the crowd with grace. All the people bowed in awe of her beauty. Even so, Buttercup's emptiness consumed her. Although the law of the land gave Humperdinck the right to choose his bride, she did not love him. Despite Humperdinck's reassurance that she would grow to love him, the only joy she found was in her daily ride.
A word, my lady.
The voice caused Buttercup to stop in her tracks. Before stood 3 men. A short Sicilian named Viccini, a Spaniard swordsman named Inigo, and a giant named Fennic.
We are but poor, lost circus performers. Is there a village nearby?
There is nothing nearby, not for miles.
Then there will be no one to hear you scream.
Before Buttercup could muster a single sound, Fezzik's monstrous hands wrapped around the back of her neck, pinching at a nerve that knocked Buttercup out cold. Moments later, nearby a boat floating in a small dock, Vizzini tears a piece of fabric and tucks it inside the horse's saddle.
What is that you're ripping?
It's fabric from the uniform of an army officer of Gilder.
Who's Gilder?
The country across the sea. The sworn enemy of Florin. Go! Off you go! Once the horse reaches the castle, the fabric will make the prince suspect that the Gildarians have abducted his love. When he finds her body dead on the Gilder frontier, his suspicions will be totally confirmed.
Never said anything about killing anyone?
I've hired you to help me start a war. That's a prestigious line of work with a long and glorious tradition.
I just don't think it's right killing an innocent girl.
Am I going mad, or did the word think escape your lips? You weren't hired for your brains, you hippopotamic landmass.
I agree with Fennic.
Oh, the sot has spoken. What happens to her is not truly your concern. I will kill her. And remember this, never forget this. When I found you, you were so slobberingly drunk you couldn't buy brandy. And you, friendless, brainless, helpless, hopeless. Do you want me to send you back to where you were? Unemployed in Greenland?
Vizzini trots away in frustration. Inigo, noticing Fezzik's distraught expression, approaches him, much like how one would approach an upset child.
At Viccini, he can fuss.
Fuss. Fuss. I think he likes to scream at us.
Probably he means no harm.
He's really very short on charm.
You have a great gift for rhyme.
Yes, yes, some of the time.
Enough of that.
Fennic, are there rocks ahead?
If there are, we'll all be dead.
No more rhymes now, I mean it.
Anybody want a peanut?
Ah!
It wasn't long before nighttime fell. Inigo stayed at the helm, occasionally looking out into the dark sea, almost as if he was looking for something. Vizzini, meanwhile, relaxed in place, confident in his perceived perfection.
We'll reach the cliff by dawn. Why are you doing that?
Make sure nobody's following us.
That would be inconceivable.
Despite what you think, you will be caught. And when you are, the prince will see you all hanged.
Of all the necks on this boat, Highness, the one you should be worrying about is your own. Stop doing that. We can all relax. It's almost over.
You're sure nobody's following us?
As I told you, it would be absolutely, totally, and in all other ways inconceivable. No one in Gilder knows what we've done, and no one in Florin could have gotten here so fast. Out of curiosity, why do you ask?
No reason. It's only I just happened to look behind us and somebody is there.
What?
Astonished by Inigo's observation, Vizzini jumps from his seated position and runs toward the helm of the boat. When he looks out, he is shocked to see exactly what Inigo reported. Another boat, a little smaller than their own, and moving towards them rather quickly.
Probably some local fisherman out for a pleasure cruise at night through eel-infested waters.
Suddenly, a loud splash comes from behind them. Buttercup has dived into the water, trying to swim her way to freedom.
Go in! Get after her!
I don't swim.
I only doggy paddle.
They're left! Left!
Buttercup swam with all her might, until moments later she stops in her tracks. An eerie and unsettling sound seemed to be emanating from the waters.
Do you know what that sound is, Highness? Those are the shrieking eels. If you doubt me, just wait. They always grow louder when they're about to feed on human flesh.
Buttercup, treading water, suddenly sees one of the eels swimming close by. The sudden movement causes her to shriek in terror.
If you swim back now, I promise no harm will come to you. I doubt you'll get such an offer from the eels.
Suddenly, Buttercup looks to her side. She sees one of the eels charging towards her, sliding through the water like a knife through butter. Her face is filled with absolute terror. Too scared to move, all she can do is watch as the eel closes in on her. Then, with a great roar, the slimy beast opens its dagger-filled jaws, and then... She doesn't get eaten by the eels at this time.
What?
The eel doesn't get her. I'm explaining to you because you look nervous.
Oh, well, I wasn't nervous. Well, maybe I was a little bit concerned, but that's not the same thing.
Because I can stop now if you want.
No. You could read a little bit more if you want.
Do you know what that sound is, Highness?
Those are the shrieking eels.
We were past that, Grandpa. You read it already.
Oh my goodness, I did. I'm sorry. Beg your pardon. All right. Let's see. She was in the water. The eel was coming up after her. She was frightened. The eel started to charge her. And then, just before the eel could take a bite out of Buttercup, a giant arm slams down on the eel's head, splashing water right into Buttercup's petrified face. Then, less than a second later, the same arm picks up Buttercup and pulls her back onto the boat.
Put her down. Just put her down.
I think he's getting closer.
He's no concern of ours. Sail on. I suppose you think you're brave, don't you?
Only compared to some.
They sailed until the dawn. Now, with the sun on the horizon, Inigo could see the other boat more clearly, enough to notice how much closer he was than before.
Look! He's right on top of us! I wonder if he's using the same wind we're using.
Whoever he is, he's too late. See? The cliffs of insanity! Hurry up! Move the thing, the other thing. Move it! We're safe. Only Fennic is strong enough to go up our way. He'll have to sail around for hours till he finds a harbor.
Reaching dry land at the bottom of the cliffs, Fennic straps on a large leather harness with sitting straps attached on all sides. Along the cliffs is a thick rope that reaches all the way up to the top. Reaching what must at least be a mile high, Buttercup looks up in terror as she's strapped to Fennic's body. Once everyone is strapped in, Fennic begins to climb the rope, carrying everyone else. Moments later, the other boat stops by the same area, and a mysterious man in black jumps out of the boat and instantly begins climbing the same rope, somehow moving even faster.
Climbing the rope. And he's getting on us.
Inconceivable! Faster!
Well, it was going faster.
You were supposed to be this colossus. You were this great, legendary thing, and yet he gains.
Well, I'm carrying 3 people, and he's only got himself.
I do not accept excuses. I'm just going to have to find myself a new giant. That's all.
Don't say that, Viccini, please.
Did I make this clear that your job is at stake?
As the man in black continues his way up the rope, the first group reaches the top. Viccini leaps off and takes out a knife and begins to cut the rope, which is tied around a great rock, while Inigo helps the princess to her feet, and Fennic just stands around waiting for someone to tell him to do something. Nearby are some stone ruins. Once they might have been a fort, but now they kind of resemble Stonehenge. Before the man in black can make his way to the top, Viccini finally cuts all the way through the rope. The others see it slithering across the ground and out of sight toward the channel, like some great serpent at last going home. Yet once everyone looked over the cliff, the man in black was clinging for dear life onto the rocks.
He was very good arms.
He didn't fall. Inconceivable.
Keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. My God, he's climbing.
Whoever he is, he's obviously seen us with the princess, and therefore must die. You carry her. We'll head straight for the Gilder frontier. Catch up when he's dead. If he falls, fine. If not, the sword.
I want to duel him left-handed.
You know what a hurry we're in.
Well, it's the only way I can be satisfied. If I use my right, over too quickly.
Oh, have it your way.
You be careful. People in masks cannot be trusted.
I'm waiting.
Inigo watches them depart, then turns, peers down over the cliffs. He watches a moment, then paces, shaking his hands loose. He practices a few of his honed fencing skills. He is a taut and nervous fellow, and has never been one for waiting around.
Hello there! Slow going.
Look, I don't mean to be rude, but this is not as easy as it looks, so I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't distract me.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I do not suppose you could speed things up.
If you're in such a hurry, you could lower a rope or a tree branch or find something useful to do.
I could do that. In fact, I got some rope up here. But I do not think that you will accept my help since I'm only waiting around to kill you.
Well, that does put a damper on our relationship.
But I promise I will not kill you until you reach the top.
That's very comforting, but I'm afraid you'll just have to wait.
I hate waiting. I could give you my word as a Spaniard.
Oh, good. Known to many Spaniards.
Is there no other way you will trust me?
Nothing comes to mind.
Then I swear on the soul of my father, Domingo Montoya, you will reach the top alive.
Throw me the rope.
With great enthusiasm, Inigo uncoils some of the rope from the rock and tosses it down the cliff. The man in black grabs it and holds it on for dear life as Inigo helps him up. Moments later, the man in black has reached the top alive, just as Inigo has promised.
Thank you.
Oh, we'll wait until you're ready.
Again, thank you.
The man in black sits to rest on the boulder that once held the rope. He tugs off his leather boots and is amazed to see several large rocks tumble out. The man in black wears gloves. Inigo stares at them.
I do not mean to pry, but you wouldn't happen to have 6 fingers on your right hand?
Do you always begin conversations this way?
My father was slaughtered by a 6-fingered man. He was a great sword maker, my father. 6-fingered man came to him and demanded a special sword. My father took the job. Slaved a year before he was done.
I have never seen its equal.
6-fingered man returned and demanded it, but at 1/10 his promised price. My father refused. Without a word, the 6-fingered man slashed him through the heart. I love my father, so naturally I challenged his murderer to a duel. I failed. The 6-fingered man left me alive with the 6-fingered sword, but he gave me these.
How old were you?
I was 11 years old. When I was strong enough, I dedicated my life to the study of fencing. So the next time we meet, I will not fail. I will go up to the 6-fingered man and say, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die."
You've done nothing but study swordplay?
More pursuit than a study lately. You see, I cannot find him. It's been 20 years now and I'm starting to lose confidence. I just work for Viccini to pay the bills. Not a lot of money in revenge.
Well, I certainly hope you find him someday.
You're ready then.
Whether I am or not, you've been more than fair.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to die.
Begin.
With that, the two of them had begun their duel. At first, they exchange a few quick swipes and parries, much like two people playing chess. They're studying each other, measuring each other's abilities. Soon, their fight begins to build up in intensity. Inigo, for one, seems enthralled by his opponent.
You're using Bonetti's defense against me, eh?
Not a fitting, considering the rocky terrain.
Naturally, you must expect me to attack with Capoferro.
Naturally. I find Thalbot cancels Capapero, don't you?
Unless your enemy has studied his Agrippa.
Suddenly, with the grace of an Olympian, Inigo flies off the perch, somersaults clean over the man in black's head, and lands facing his opponent.
Which I have.
The two men are almost flying across the rocky terrain, never losing balance, never coming close to stumbling. The battle rages with incredible finesse. First one, then the others gaining the advantage, and by now it's clear that this isn't just two athletes going at it. It's a lot more like that, a lot more than that. This is two legendary swashbucklers, and they're in the prime.
You are wonderful.
Thank you. I've worked hard to become so.
I admitted you are better than I am.
Then why are you smiling?
Because I know something you don't know.
And what is that?
I am not left-handed.
With no effort, Inigo switches swords to his right hand. Now the fight has truly escalated. Inigo moves in on the man in black as he backs away, unable to handle Inigo's sudden force of skill. They make their way to the little flight of stairs, eventually reaching another edge of cliff.
You are amazing.
I ought to be after 20 years.
And there's something I ought to tell you.
Tell me.
I'm not left-handed either.
With that, the man in black tosses his sword into the air with his left hand, catching it in his right. Now the fight is truly on. The man in black moves in and gains the upper hand. He strikes Inigo's sword away, leaving him wide open. Thinking quickly, Inigo jumps onto the nearby vine, not unlike a gymnast swinging bar, swings down to the lower lever, recovering his sword. The man in black decides to do one better, tossing his sword to the lower ground and landing perfectly straight up. The man in black jumps onto the bar, performs two perfect swings, ending with a mid-air backflip, landing perfectly onto his feet. Then he picks up his sword and waits.
Who are you?
No one of consequence.
I must know.
Get used to disappointment.
Okay.
Inigo moves in like lightning. He thrusts forward, slashes, darts back, all in almost a single movement, and dodging, blocking, and again he thrusts forward faster even than before, and again he slashes, and on it goes, back and forth across the rocky terrain, Inigo's feet moving with the grace and speed of a great improvisational dancer. Yet something is terrible written behind his eyes. He has given his all, done everything a man could do, tried every style, made every maneuver, but it wasn't enough. And on his face, for all to see, is the realization that he, Inigo Montoya of Spain, is going to lose. Then, the six-figured sword is set flying from Inigo's grip. He stands helplessly only a moment, then drops to his knees, bows his head, shuts his eyes.
Kill me quickly.
I would as soon destroy a stained glass window as an artist like yourself. However, since I can't have you following me either, please understand, I hold you in the highest respect.
Having won the duel, the man in black takes off after the others. Moments later, near some rocks, Viccini looks on at their pursuer with confusion.
Inconceivable! Give her to me. Catch up with us quickly.
What do I do?
Finish him! Finish him your way!
Oh, good, my way. Thank you, Viccini. Which way is my way?
Pick up one of those rocks, get behind the boulder, and in a few minutes, the man in black will come running around the bend. The minute his head is in view, hit it with the rock.
My way's not very sportsmanlike.
And with that, Fezzik grabs one of the rocks and plods behind the boulder. The man in black races up the mountain trail. Ahead is a bend in the trail. He sees it, slows. Then he stops, listening. Satisfied by the silence, he starts forward again, and as he rounds the bend, a rock flies into frame, shattering on a boulder inches in front of him. Fezzik moves into the mountain patch. He's picked up another rock and holds it lightly.
I did that on purpose. I didn't have to miss.
I believe you. So what happens now?
We face each other as God intended, sportsmanlike. No tricks, no weapons, skill against skill alone.
You mean you'll put down your rock, I'll put down my sword, and we'll try to kill each other like civilized people?
I could kill you now.
Frankly, I think the odds are slightly in your favor at hand fighting.
It's not my fault being the biggest and the strongest. I don't even exercise.
The man in black is not now and has never been a shrimp, but it's like he wasn't even there. Fezzik towers over him so much. There is a moment's pause, and then the man in black dives at Fezzik's chest, slams him several tremendous blows on the stomach, twists his arms severely, skips skillfully into beautifully applied bear hug, and in general makes any number of terrific wrestling moves. Fezzik just stands there, kind of taking in the scenery. Finally, the man in black pushes himself away, stares up at the giant.
Look, are you just fiddling with me around or what?
I just want you to feel you're doing well. I hate for people to die embarrassed.
Suddenly, Fezzik jumps forward with stunning speed for anyone his size and reaches for the man in black, who drops to his knees, spins loose, and slips between the giant's legs.
You're quick.
And a good thing, too.
Why do you wear a mask? Were you burned by acid or something like that?
Oh, no, it's just that they're terribly comfortable. I think everybody will be wearing them in the future.
Fezzik considers this for a moment, then attacks. And if he moved quickly the last time, this time he is blinding as the man in black slips down to avoid the charge. Fezzik moves right with him, only instead of twisting free and jumping to his feet, this time the man in black jumps for Fezzik's back, and in a moment he is riding him with his arms, and his arms have Fezzik's throat locked across Fezzik's windpipe, one in front, one behind. The man in black begins to squeeze tighter.
I just figured out where you gave us so much trouble.
Fezzik charges toward a huge rock that lines the path, and just as he reaches it, he spins his giant body so the entire weight of the charge is taken by the man in black. And the power of the charge is terrible, the pain enormous. But he slips to his grip at Fezzik's windpipe. But he clings to his grip at Fezzik's windpipe.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, I haven't fought just one person for so long. I've been specializing in groups, battling gangs for local charities, that kind of thing.
Again, Fezzik charges, slower this time, but still a charge. And again, he spins and creams the man in black against the rough boulder.
Why should that make such a difference?
Well, you see, you use different moves when you're fighting half a dozen people, and when you only have to worry about...
Holding his grip as Fezzik tries to stand, halfway makes it, but there is no air. Back to his knees he falls, holds there for a moment, and pitches down to all fours. The man in black increases the pressure. Fezzik tries to crawl, but there is just no air. No air. Fezzik goes to earth and lies still.
I don't envy you the headache you will have when you awake. But in the meantime, rest well and dream of large women.
And he nimbly scoops up his sword with his foot, catches it, and as he dashes off along the mountain path. Meanwhile, back at the ruins, Prince Humperdinck slips his boot into a footprint in the sand. Count Rugen, mounted, watches. Behind him, half a dozen armed warriors also mounted. A great white horse waits riderless in front. Humperdinck is all over the rocky ground, and maybe he isn't the best hunter in the world. Then again, maybe he is. Because as he begins to put his feet onto strange positions, we realize that what he's doing is miming the fencers.
There was a mighty duel. It ranged all over. They were both masters.
Rugen?
Bruce.
Who won? How did it end?
The loser ran off alone. The winner followed those footprints toward Gilder.
Shall we track them both?
The loser is nothing. Only the princess matters. Clearly, this was all planned by warriors of Gilder. We must be ready for whatever lies ahead.
Could this be a trap?
I always think everything could be a trap. Which is why I'm still alive.
They ride off in haste towards their destination. Meanwhile, the man in black has finally caught up to Viccini. Buttercup sits by his side, blindfolded with a dagger poised right at her throat. A picnic spread is laid out, a tablecloth, 2 goblets, and between them a small leather wine container, and some cheese and a couple of apples. The picnic is set on a lovely spot, high on the edge of a mountain path, with a view all the way back to the sea.
So it is down to you, and it is down to me. If you wish her dead, by all means, keep moving forward.
Let me explain.
There's nothing to explain. You're trying to kidnap what I've rightfully stolen.
Perhaps an arrangement can be reached?
There will be no arrangement. And you're killing her.
But if there can be no arrangement, then we are at an impasse.
I'm afraid so. I can't compete with your physicality, with you physically, and you're no match for my brains.
You're really that smart.
Let me put it this way. Have you heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Yes.
Morons.
Really? In that case, I challenge you to a battle of wits.
For the princess. To the death? I accept.
Good. And pour the wine.
As Viccini fills the goblets with the dark red liquid, the man in black pulls a small packet from his clothing, handing it to Viccini.
Inhale this, but do not touch.
I smell nothing.
What you do not smell is called iocane powder. It is odorless, tasteless, dissolves instantly in liquid, and is among the more deadlier poisons known to man.
Viccini watches excitedly as the man in black takes the goblets and turns his back. A moment later, he turns again, faces Viccini with the 2 goblets. Carefully, the man in black places them back onto the rock in front of them.
All right. Where is the poison? The battle of wits has begun. It ends when you decide and we both drink. When we find out who is right and who is dead.
But it's so simple. All I have to do is divine from what I know of you. Are you the sort of man who would put the poison in his own goblet or in his enemy's? Now, a clever man would put the poison into his own goblet because he would know that only a great fool would reach what was given to him. I'm not a great fool, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you must have known that I was not a great fool. You would have counted on it. And so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You've made your decision then?
Not remotely, because iocane comes from Australia, as everyone knows. And Australia is entirely peopled with criminals. And criminals are used to having people not trust them. And as you are not trusted by me, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you.
Surely you have a dizzying intellect.
Wait till I get going. Where was I?
Australia.
Yes, Australia. And you must have suspected that I would have known the powder's origin, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You're just stalling now.
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you? You've beaten my giant, which means you're exceptionally strong. So you could have put the poison in your own goblet, trusting on your strength to save you. So I can clearly choose the wine in front of you. But you've also beaten my Spaniard, which means you must have studied. And in studying, you must have learned that man is mortal. So you would have put the poison as far from yourself as possible, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You're trying to trick me into giving away something. Won't work.
It has worked. You've given everything away. I know where the poison is.
Then make your choice.
I will. And I choose. What in the world can that be?
What? Where?
The man in black turns around, curious to know what Viccini might have seen. Quickly, Viccini grabs both goblets and switches them around. Just seconds before, the man in black turns back around to face him.
Well, I don't see anything.
Oh, well, I could have sworn I saw something. No matter.
So funny.
Oh, I'll tell you in a minute. First, let's drink. Me from my glass and you from yours.
You guessed wrong.
You only think I guessed wrong. That's what's so funny. I switched the glasses when your back was turned, you fool. You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known is never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
Certain of his victory, Viccini cackled like a clown. Then, without warning, he drops dead on the spot. With that, the man in black rushed to Buttercup, removing her blindfold and untying her hands.
Who are you?
I'm no one to be trifled with. That is all you ever need know.
To think, all that time it was your cup that was poisoned.
Oh, they were both poisoned. I spent the last 2 years building up an immunity to iocane powder.
And then, like a dash, they run off towards the forest. Meanwhile, Prince Humperdinck has reached the rocks where just moments ago the man in black faced off against Fennic.
Someone has beaten a giant. There will be great suffering in Gilder if she dies.
The man in black comes running into view, still dragging Buttercup, who sometimes stumbles, but he keeps forcing her along. Finally, when she is close to exhaustion, he lets go of her.
Catch your breath.
If you'll release me, whatever you ask for ransom, you'll get it. I promise you.
And what worth is that? The promise of a woman? Oh, very funny, Highness.
I was giving you a chance. No matter where you take me, there's no greater hunter than Prince Humperdinck. He could track a falcon on a cloudy day. He can find you.
You think your dearest love will save you?
I never said he was my dearest love. And yes, he will save me. That I know.
You admit to me you do not love your fiancé?
He knows I do not love him.
Are not capable of love, is what you mean?
I have loved more deeply than a killer like yourself could ever dream.
The man in black raises his hand toward Buttercup's face. She flinches, except no strike comes forth.
That was a warning, Highness. Next time, my hand flies on its own. Where I come from, there are penalties when a woman lies.
Then, as quickly as the man in black raises his hand, he instantly grabs Buttercup's and they run off again. Meanwhile, Prince Humperdinck continues his chase. By this time, he has reached the location of the Babel of Wits.
Aye, O'Kane. I'd bet my life on it. And there are the princess's footprints. She is alive. Or was, an hour ago. If she is otherwise when I find her, I shall be very put out.
They leave Vizzini's body and continue on their chase. It wasn't long before the man in black found another spot to rest and breathe.
Yes, Highness.
I know who you are. Your cruelty reveals everything. You're the dread pirate Roberts. Admit it.
With pride. What can I do for you?
You can die slowly, cut into 1,000 pieces.
Hardly complimentary, Your Highness. Why loose your venom on me?
You killed my love.
It's possible. I kill a lot of people. Who is this love of yours? Another prince like this one? Ugly, rich, and scabby?
No. A farm boy. Poor and perfect. With eyes like the sea after a storm. On the high seas, your ship attacked, and the dread pirate Roberts never takes prisoners.
Well, I can't afford to make exceptions. Once word leaks out and the pirate has gone soft, people begin to disobey you, then it's nothing but work all the time.
You mock my pain.
Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something. I remember this farm boy of yours. I think this would be, 5 years ago? Does it bother you to hear?
Nothing you can say will upset me.
He died well. That should please you. No bribe attempts or blubbering. He simply said, please, I need to live. It was the please that caught my memory. I asked him what was so important for him. True love, he replied. When he spoke of a girl of passing beauty, faithfulness. I can only assume he meant you. You should bless me for destroying him before he found out what you really are.
And what am I?
Faithfulness he talked of, madam. Your enduring faithfulness. Now, tell me truly, when you found out he was gone, did you get engaged to your prince that same hour, or did you wait a whole week out of respect for the dead?
You mocked me once, never do it again. I died that day.
The man in black is about to reply as they stand there on the edge of the sheer ravine, but then something catches his attention as he stares at it briefly. The dust cloud caused by Humperdinck's horses is rising up into the sky, and while his attention is on the dust cloud rising high, she pushes him with all the strength she has.
You can die too for all I care.
In a fit of rage, Buttercup shoves the man in black down the grassy hill. As he tumbled his way down toward the bottom, he lets out a familiar cry.
Luce!
Oh, my sweet Wesley, what have I done?
And without a second thought or consideration of the dangers, she starts into the ravine. A moment later, she too is falling, spinning, twisting, crashing, and torn, cartwheeling down towards what is left of her beloved.
Disappeared. He must have seen us closing in, which might account for his panicking and error. Unless I'm wrong, and I am never wrong, they are headed dead into the fire swamp.
The two of them lie there, feet apart, not moving. Then Wesley crawls over to Buttercup, reunited at last.
Can you move at all?
Oh, you're alive. If you want, I can fly.
I told you I would always come for you. Why didn't you wait for me?
Well, you were dead.
Death cannot stop true love. Only delayed for a while.
I will never doubt again.
There will never be a need.
And now they begin to kiss. It's a tender kiss. tender and loving and gentle.
Oh, no, no, please.
What is it? What's the matter?
They're kissing again? Do we have to hear the kissing part?
Someday you may not mind so much.
Skip on to the fire swamp. That sounded good.
Oh, you're sick. I'll humor you. So now, where were we here? Yeah. Okay. Wesley and Buttercup raced along the ravine floor.
Ah! Pig fiancé is too late. From steps, we'll be safe in the fire swamp.
We'll never survive.
Nonsense. You're only saying that because no one has ever have.
As they race off, leaving Humperdinck and his men stranded, defeated. Soon Wesley and Buttercup were deep inside the fire swamp. It really doesn't look any worse than any other moist, sulfurous, infernal horror you might run across. Great trees block the sun.
Not that bad. I'm not saying I want to build a summer home here, but the trees are actually quite lovely.
Suddenly, a giant spurt of flame leaps up, preceded by a slight popping sound, and this particular spurt of flame misses Wesley, but Buttercup is suddenly on fire. At least the lower half of her, she is, and Wesley, instantly forcing Buttercup to sit, gathering her flaming hem in his hands, doing his best to suffocate the fire. This isn't all that easy, and it causes him a bit of grief, but he does his best to sound as jaunty as before.
Oh, now, that was an adventure. Didn't you a bit worry you?
No, you.
Well, for one thing, I could say, fire swamp certainly does keep you on your toes. So it'll all soon be a happy memory, because Robert's ship Revenge is anchored at the far end. And I, as you know, am Robert's.
But how is that possible since he's been marauding 20 years and you only left me 5 years ago?
I myself am often surprised at life's little quirks.
There is again a popping sound, then a huge spurt of flame. Wesley simply picks up Buttercup as they walk along, moves her out of danger, puts her back down, then goes right on talking without missing a beat.
You see, what I told you before about saying please was true. It intrigued Roberts, as did my descriptions of their beauty. Finally, Roberts decided something. He said, "All right, Wesley, I've never had a valet. You can try it for tonight. I'll most likely kill you in the morning." 3 years he said that. "Good night, Wesley. Good work. Sleep well. I'll most likely kill you in the morning." It was a fine time for me. I was learning to fence, to fight, anything anyone would teach me. Roberts and I eventually became friends. And then it happened.
What? Go on.
Well, Roberts had grown so rich, he wanted to retire. So he took me to his cabin and told me his secret. "I am not the Dread Pirate Roberts," he said. "My name is Ryan. I inherited the ship from the previous Dread Pirate Roberts, just as you will inherit it from me. The man I inherited it from was not the real Dread Pirate Roberts either. His name was Cummerbund. The real Dread Pirate Roberts has retired 15 years ago and living like a king in Patagonia." Then he explained that the name was a more important thing for inspiring the necessary fear. You see, no one would surrender to the Dread Pirate Wesley. So we sailed ashore, took on an entirely new crew, and he stayed aboard for a while as first mate, all the time calling me Roberts. Once the crew believed it, he left the ship, and I've been Roberts ever since. Except, now that we're together, I should retire and hand the name over to someone else. Is everything clear to you?
Buttercup, perplexed, is about to reply, but the ground she steps on gives way. It's lightning sand. A great patch of it, and it has her. A cloud of powder rises and she sinks into the stuff, crying Wesley's name. But then she is gone as Wesley slashes a nearby vine. It's still connected to the tree. Then he grabs it, drops his sword, and clutching the other end of the vine, he dives into the lightning sand, where there is another cloud of white powder, but it settles quickly. Now nothing can be seen. Nothing at all. Just the lightning sand, lovely and lethal. An odd panting sound is heard now. The panting sound is suddenly very loud. Then a giant ROUS darts into the room. The ROUS, a rodent of unusual size, is probably no more than 80 pounds of bone and power. It sniffs around a bit then, and quickly as it has come, it goes. As Wesley, lungs long passed out of the bursting point, explodes out, he has Buttercup across his shoulders, and he pulls her to the edge of the lightning sand pit, using the vine. Her face is caked with the white powder. It is in her eyes, her ears, hair, mouth. She's still probably beautiful, but you have to look awfully hard to see it. As Wesley continues to pull them to safety, high above them, the ROUS watches.
We'll never succeed. We may as well die here.
No. No, we've already succeeded. I mean, what are the three terrors of this fire swamp? 1, the flame spurts. No problem. There's a popping sound preceding each. We can avoid that. 2, the lightning sand. But you were clever enough to discover what that looks like, so in the future, we can avoid that too.
But Wesley, what about the ROUSs?
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
Almost instantly, Wesley is tackled by an ROUS. They wrestle on the ground. Buttercup stands in shock. The great beast makes a lunge for Wesley's neck with its teeth, but Wesley blocks it with his arm, only to writhe in pain as the ROUS chomps down almost to the bone. With all his strength, Wesley hits the monster with his other arm, knocking it clear off his chest. He then reaches for his sword, but the beast regains itself and grabs Wesley, pulling him just out of reach of his sword. Wesley grabs the monster's jaw and tries to rip them apart, but the ROUS shows itself to be too strong for that. Finally, Wesley uses his leg to catapult the animal across the ground. He then tries to reach for his sword again, except the ROUS now has its sights on Buttercup and charges.
Wesley!
Hearing her voice, Wesley jumps on top of the monster as it tries to chomp at Buttercup's leg, only tearing at her dress. Buttercup then grabs a nearby falling tree branch and begins wailing on the monster's head, but to no avail. Just before the beast can get a grip on Buttercup's foot, she gives it a great smack right across the face with the tree branch, and it rolls away with Wesley. Then the ROUS decides to take another bite out of him, this time his shoulder, causing Wesley to scream in pain. Suddenly, Wesley hears the spurts of air coming out of the ground close by. Thinking quickly, Wesley grabs a hold of the ROUS and rolls over toward the location of the spurts, stopping just before the burst of flame with the great beast caught right in the middle of the fire, burning its back something terrible. As the monster growls in pain, Wesley gets to his feet and grabs his sword. Then he turns back. He sees the ugly animal still trying to move and fight, grunting in pain. Without hesitation, Wesley walks right up to the injured beast and stabs it repeatedly with his sword, again and again and again, until finally the ROUS rolls back and made no more sounds. It has finally died. Wesley looks on at Buttercup, bloody and battered. Buttercup looks on at Wesley, loving him more than she ever knew. With that, they continue their way out of the fire swamp and into the open field with more familiar trees.
We did it.
Oh, is that so terrible?
Before they had a chance to celebrate their victory, Humperdinck on his horse, Rugen beside him, 3 warriors armed and ready are mounted in formation behind. Buttercup and Wesley are at the edge of the fire swamp, about to leave it. They stop. Buttercup looks beyond an exhaustion. Wesley looks worse.
Surrender!
You mean you wish to surrender to me? Very well, I accept.
I give you full marks for bravery. Don't make yourself a fool.
But how will you capture us? We know the secrets of the fire swamp. We can live there quite happily for some time. So whenever you feel like dying, feel free to visit.
I tell you once again, surrender.
It will not happen.
Buttercup scans the area and sees 2 soldiers armed with crossbows aimed squarely at Wesley's heart. She can only think of one thing to do.
For the last time, surrender!
Yes, first!
Will you promise not to hurt him?
What was that?
What was that?
If we surrender and I return with you, will you promise not to hurt this man?
May I live 1,000 years and never hunt again.
He is a sailor on the pirate ship Revenge. Promise to return him to his ship.
I swear it will be done. Once we're out of sight, take him back to Florin and throw him in the pit of despair.
I swear it will be done.
I thought you were dead once, and it almost destroyed me. I could not bear it if you died again. Not when I could save you.
And with that, Humperdinck snatched his Buttercup off of the ground and onto his horse. Wesley could do nothing but watch as they ran further and further away. He doesn't know if he should feel grateful or defeated.
Come, sir. We must get you to your ship.
We are men of action. Lies do not become us.
Well spoken, sir.
As the soldiers arrested Wesley, he could not help but notice something unusual about Rugen.
What is it?
You have 6 fingers on your right hand. Someone was looking for you.
But before Wesley could utter anything else, Rugen raises his sword and butts Wesley on the head with his hilt. Wesley falls over completely unconscious as everything went dark. By the time Wesley woke up, he found himself strapped to a wooden table in a dark and musky place. The walls were lined with tree roots, nearby tables lined with tools and blades, some of which appear to be stained with blood. As Wesley regained his composure, he saw a strange-looking albino man treating his wounds.
Where am I?
The pit of despair. Don't even... Don't even think about trying to escape. The chains are far too thick. I don't dream of being rescued either. The only way in is secret. And only the prince, the count, and I know how to get in and out.
Then I'm here till I die.
Till they kill you, yeah.
Then why bother curing me?
Prince and the count always insist on everyone being healthy before they're broken.
So as to be tortured.
Mm-hmm.
I can cope with torture. You don't believe me?
Well, you've survived this fire swamp. You must be very brave. But nobody withstands the machine.
For the first time in a long time, Wesley felt completely helpless. Back at the castle, Buttercup was walking the halls in despair, being looked on by Humperdinck and Rugen.
She's been like that ever since the fire swamp. It's my father's failing health that's upsetting her.
Of course.
The king died that very night, and before the following dawn, Buttercup and Humperdinck were married. And at noon, she met her subjects again, this time as their queen.
My father's final words were, hold it, Grandpa. You read that wrong. She doesn't marry Humperdinck, she marries Wesley. I'm just sure of it. After all that Wesley did for her, if she does not marry him, it wouldn't be fair.
Well, who says life is fair? Where is that written? Life isn't always fair.
I'm telling you, you're messing up the story. Now get it right.
Do you want me to go on with this?
Yes.
All right, then. No more interruptions. At noon, she met her subjects again, this time as their queen.
My father's final words were, love her as I loved her, and there will be joy. I present to you your queen, Queen Buttercup.
Buttercup, looking more regal than ever, walks out of the corridor and into the crowd. Yet, to her surprise, not everyone there was as pleased with her presence.
Boo! Boo!
Why do you do this?
Because you had love in your hands, and you gave it up!
But they would have killed Wesley if I hadn't done it.
Your true love lives, and you marry another. True love saved her the fire swamp, and she treated her like garbage, and that's what she is, the queen of refuse. So bow down to her if you want, bow down to her, bow down to the queen of slime, the queen of filth, the queen of putrescence. Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo! Boo!
Suddenly, Buttercup woke up from her nightmare. It was 10 days till the wedding. The king still lived, but Buttercup's nightmares were growing steadily worse.
See? Didn't I tell you should never marry that rotten Humpernick?
Yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
It comes to this. I love Wesley. I always have. I know now. I always will. If you tell me I must marry you in 10 days, please believe I will be dead by morning.
I could never cause you grief. Consider our wedding off. You return this Wesley to his ship?
Yes.
Then we will simply alert him. Beloved, are you certain he still wants you? After all, it was you who did the leaving in the fire swamp. Not to mention that pirates are known to be men of their words.
My Wesley will always come for me.
I suggest a deal. You write 4 copies of a letter. I'll send my 4 fastest ships, 1 in each direction. The dread pirate Roberts is always close to Florin this time of year. We'll run up the white flag and deliver your message. If Wesley wants you, bless you both. If not, please consider me as an alternative to suicide. Are we agreed?
Although Buttercup had no reason to trust his word, she saw no other way to reach her love and reluctantly agreed. Soon after, Humperdinck and Rugen made their way to a secluded area of the nearby woods.
Your princess is really a winning creature. A trifle simple, perhaps, but her appeal is undeniable.
Oh, I know. The people are quite taken with her. It's odd. But when I hired Viccini to have her murdered on our engagement day, I thought that was clever. But it's going to be so much more moving when I strangle her on our wedding night. Once Gilder is blamed, the nation will be truly outraged. They'll demand we go to war.
Now, where is that secret knot? It's impossible to find.
Rugen felt all around a nearby tree searching for something. Then he finds a secret knot in the tree, revealing a secret passageway to a place called the Pit.
Are you coming down into the pit? Wesley's got his strength back. I'm starting him on the machine tonight.
Tyrone, you know how much I love watching you work. But I've got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and Gilder to frame for it. I'm swamped.
Get some rest. If you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything.
With a devilish grin, Humperdinck walks away as Rugen descends into a dark and dank pit. There he finds the albino preparing Wesley, connecting him to a strange and unbelievably large machine. Suction cups attached to long tubes are affixed to Wesley's chest and head.
Ah, beautiful, isn't it? It took me a lifetime, half a lifetime to invent it. I'm sure you've discovered my deep and abiding interest in pain. At present, I'm writing the definitive work on the subject. So I want you to be totally honest with me on how the machine makes you feel. This being our first try, I'll use the lowest setting.
Carefully, Rugen raises a wooden bar to the number 1. A passage of water is opened, causing the machine to turn and tumble. Suddenly, Wesley finds himself in a tremendous amount of pain, causing him to convulse and grunt, unable to do anything about it. After a minute or two, Rugen pushes the wooden bar down, and the machine stops. Wesley is at the brink of tears. Rugen, apathetic toward Wesley's despair, sits down at the table, taking down notes.
As you know, the concept of the suction pump is centuries old. Well, really, that's all this is, except that instead of sucking water, I'm sucking life. I've just sucked 1 year of your life away. I might one day go as high as 5, but I really don't know what that would do to you. So let's just start with what we have. What did this do to you? Tell me. And remember, this is for posterity, so be honest. How do you feel? Interesting.
Meanwhile, back at the castle, Humperdinck begins the first phase of his dastardly plan.
Yellen,
Sire?
as chief enforcer of all Florin, I trust you with this secret. Killers from Gilder are infiltrating the Thieves' Forest and plan to murder my bride on our wedding night.
My spy network has heard no such news.
Any word from Wesley?
Too soon, my angel. Patience.
He will come for me.
Of course. She will not be murdered. On the day of the wedding, I want the Thieves' Forest emptied and every inhabitant arrested.
Many of the thieves would resist. My regular enforcers will be inadequate.
Form a brute squad, then. I want the Thieves' Forest emptied before I wed.
It won't be easy, sire.
Try ruling the world sometime.
The day of the wedding arrived. The brute squad had their hands full carrying out Humperdinck's orders. Is everybody out?
Almost. There's a Spaniard giving us some trouble.
Well, you give him some trouble. Move! Little did they know that the drunken Spaniard was causing them so much trouble was none other than Inigo Montoya, sitting on the floor outside the tavern, bottles and goblets scattered all about him.
I'm waiting for you, Viccini. You told me to go back to the beginning. So I have. This is where I am. And this is where I stay. I will not be moved.
Oh, there!
I do not budge. Keep your ho there.
But the prince gave orders.
So did Viccini. When the job went wrong, you went back to the beginning. And this is where we got the job. So it's the beginning. And I'm staying till Viccini comes.
You, brute, come here.
I am waiting for Viccini.
You certainly are. Me.
At first, Inigo thought nothing of that familiar voice. It was only after the large arm picked him up off the ground that he knew who it was. It was his friend Fennic the giant.
Hello.
It's you.
True.
And as the assistant brute is just about to club Inigo's brains out, Fennic lets fly a stupendous punch. The assistant brute takes the full force of the blow right to the chops. It's like it was shot from a cannon as he careens backward out of sight across the street.
You don't look so good. You don't smell so good either.
Perhaps not. I feel fine.
Yeah?
Fennic and Inigo were reunited. And as Fennic nursed his inebriated friend back to health, he told Inigo of Vizzini's death and the existence of Count Rugen, the six-figured man. Considering Inigo's lifelong search, he handled the news surprisingly well. Fennic prepared 2 large barrels. Without a word, Fennic stuffs Inigo's head into the icy water, then immediately into the steaming warm water again, and again, and again. Fennic took great care in reviving Inigo.
That's enough! That's enough! What is this Rugen so I may kill him?
He's with the prince in the castle. But the castle gate is guarded by 30 men.
How many could you handle?
I don't think more than 10.
That leaves 20 for me. At my best, I could never defeat that many. I need Viccini to plan. I have no gift for strategy.
Vizzini's dead.
No, not Viccini. I need the man in black.
What?
Look, he bested you with strength, your greatness. He bested me with steel. He must have outthought Viccini. And a man who can do that can plan my castle's onslaught any day. Let's go.
Where?
Find the man in black, obviously.
You don't know where he is.
Don't bother me with trifles. After 20 years at last, my father's soul will be at peace. There will be blood tonight.
Fueled by his newfound energy, Inigo and Fennic storm out of the cavern and towards their destiny. Back at the castle, Prince Humperdinck sits in his study, contemplating as he sharpens his dagger, only to be interrupted by his servant, Yellen.
Rise and report.
The thieves' force is empty. 30 men guard the castle gate.
Double it. My princess must be safe.
The gate has one key, and I carry that. Buttercup enters.
Ah, my Dulcet's darling. Tonight we marry. Tomorrow morning, your men will escort us to Florin Channel, where every ship in my armada waits to accompany us on our honeymoon.
Every ship but your 4 fastest, you mean? Every ship but the 4 you sent?
Yes, of course. Naturally, not those 4.
Oh, your majesties.
You never sent the ships. Don't bother lying. It doesn't matter. Wesley will come for me anyway.
You're a silly girl.
Yes, I am a silly girl for not having seen sooner that you were nothing but a coward with a heart full of fear.
I would not say such things if I were you.
Oh, why not? You can't hurt me. Wesley and I are joined by the bonds of love, and you cannot track that. Not with 1,000 bloodhounds. And you cannot break it. Not with 1,000 swords. And when I say you are a coward, that's only because you are the slimiest weakling ever to crawl the earth.
I would not say such things if I were you.
Enraged by Buttercup's boldness, Prince Humperdinck grabs Buttercup by the arm and drags her down the hall to the chambers. Once there, he throws her inside and locks the door. Then, without a second thought, Prince Humperdinck makes his way back to the dark pit where Rugen and the albino are still conducting their experiments on Wesley.
You truly love each other, and so you might have been truly happy. Not one couple in a century has that chance, no matter what the storybooks say. And so I think no man in his century will suffer as greatly as you will.
And with that, Humperdinck grabs the wooden bar and forces it straight up with all his might, landing at the highest number of the scale, 50.
Not to 50?
Suddenly, the machine turns and wails rapidly, sucking the life right out of Wesley. If the pain was intolerable before, it is now unimaginable. Wesley lets out a scream of ultimate suffering, with a resonance of such tremendous force it can be heard by the entire kingdom, maybe even further. All the while, Humperdinck just gazes at Wesley's suffering with a grin, assured in his selfish victory. As the sound of Wesley's pain echoed throughout the land, it has caught the ear of Inigo, who is all too familiar with that sound.
Fennic, listen, do you hear? That is the sound of ultimate suffering. My heart made that sound when Rugen slaughtered my father. The man in black makes it now.
The man in black?
His true love is marrying another tonight. So who else has cause for ultimate suffering? Excuse me.
Inigo tries to quickly make his way through a massive crowd of people, but everyone seems too distracted by the noise. Finally,
Fennic, please.
Everybody move!
Then, almost instantly, the crowd parts, revealing a clear path, as if the force of Fennic's voice just pushed the people aside.
Thank you.
And with that, the two of them dart down the path. Well, Inigo darted while Fennic did his best to keep up. Soon the two of them run into the albino carrying a large wheelbarrow. Before he could take another step, Inigo gracefully places the tip of his sword directly at the albino's throat.
What is the man in black? You get there from this grove, yes? Fennic, jog his memory.
Fennic raises his hand and hits the albino square on the head. Unfortunately, Fennic didn't quite hold back his strength enough. Rather than intimidate the albino as he had intended, the albino just fell straight to the ground, completely unconscious.
I'm sorry, Inigo. I didn't mean to jog him so hard.
Inigo?
But Inigo wasn't listening. He fell to one knee and held his sword directly in front of him. With both hands at the handle, Inigo spoke softly.
Father, I have failed you for 20 years. Now our misery can end. Somewhere close by, is a man who can help us. I cannot find him alone. I need you. I need you to guide my sword, please. Guide my sword.
Slowly, Inigo rises, appearing as though he is in a trance, only moving to where the sword is apparently guiding him. He struts about the area. All the while, Fennic observes in amazement and confusion. Inigo remains in his entranced state until, finally, the tip of his sword comes to rest on a seemingly random tree. Disheartened, Inigo rests his head on the spot, only to unintentionally land directly on the knot which opens the secret passage. Cautiously, Inigo and Fennic make their way down into the pit, where they find Wesley, or what is left of him. Still on the wooden table, unable to move, Fennic places his ear onto Wesley's chest, only to apparently to hear nothing.
He's dead.
It's just not fair.
Grandpa, wait. What did Fennic mean he's dead? I mean, he didn't mean dead. Wesley's only faking, right?
You want me to read this or not?
Who gets Humpernick?
I don't understand.
Who kills Prince Humpernick? At the end, somebody's got to do it. Is it Inigo? Who?
Nobody kills him. He lives.
You mean he wins? Jesus, Grandpa, what did you read me this thing for?
You know, you've been very sick and you're taking this story very seriously. I think we better stop now.
No, I'm okay. Sit down, all right?
Okay. All right, let's see. Where were we? Oh, yes. In the pit of despair.
Well, the Montoyas have never taken defeat easily. Come along, Fennic. Bring the body.
The body?
Have you any money?
I have little.
I just hope it's enough to buy a miracle, that's all.
Fennic picks up Wesley's lifeless body, and the two of them make their way out of the pit. They soon found themselves outside the small hut, where hopefully they will find a miracle worker. Inigo raps on the door, only to be dismissed by an old voice.
Oh, wait! What?
Are you the Miracle Max who worked for the king all those years?
The king's stinking son fired me. And thank you for bringing up such a painful subject. While you're at it, why don't you give me a nice paper cut and pour lemon juice on it? We're closed!
Miracle Max instantly closes the window, but Inigo won't have it. He continues to pound on the door.
Read it or I'll call the Brute Squad!
I'm on the Brute Squad.
You are the Brute Squad!
We need a miracle. It's very important.
Look, I'm tired. Besides, why would you want someone the king's stinking son fired? I might kill whoever you want me to be a miracle.
He's already dead.
He is, eh? Now take a look. Bring him in.
Miracle Max opens the door, allowing in Inigo, Fennic, and seemingly dead Wesley to enter. Fennic gently places Wesley on the table. Miracle Max examines the body, picking up one of his arms and dropping it.
I've seen worse.
Sir?
Yeah?
Sir?
Yeah?
We're in a terrible rush.
Don't rush me, sonny. You rush a miracle man, you get rotten miracles. You got money?
65.
Never worked for so little. Except once. That was a very noble cause.
This is noble, sir. His wife is crippled. His children are on the brink of starvation.
Are you a rotten liar?
I need him to help avenge my father, murdered these 20 years.
Yeah, your first story was better. Where's that Billows? Probably owes you money, huh? Well, I'll ask him.
He's dead. He can't talk.
Ooh, look who knows so much. Hey, here. What happens to your friend here is only mostly dead. There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead. Put this in his mouth, please. Now, mostly dead He's slightly alive. All dead. And with all dead, there's really only one thing you can do.
What's that?
Go through his clothes and look for loose change. Hey! Hello in there! Hey! What's so important? What you got here that's worth living for?
True love. You heard him. You could not ask for a more noble cause than that.
Sonny, true love is the greatest thing in the world. Except for a nice MLT. Mutton, lettuce, tomato sandwich. The mutton is lean. Tomato is ripe. So perky. I love it. But it's not what he said. No, he distinctly said to blave. And as we all know, to blave means to bluff. So you were probably playing cards, and he cheated.
Liar! Liar!
Get back, witch!
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. But after what you just said, I'm not even sure I want to be that anymore.
I never had it so good.
True love. He said true love, Max. He's afraid. Ever since Prince Humperdinck fired him, his confidence is shattered.
Why'd you say that name? You promised me you would never say that name.
Oh, what? Humperdinck? Humperdinck. Humperdinck. A life expiring, and you don't have the decency to say why you won't help.
Nobody's hearing nothing.
Humperdinck.
But this is Buttercup's true love. If you heal him, he will stop Humperdinck's wedding.
Wait. I make him better. Humperdinck suffers.
Humiliations galore.
That is a noble cause. Give me the 65. I'm on the job.
With no time to spare, Miracle Max gets to work. He and his wife put together a large pill, which they coated in chocolate. To Inigo, it looked like a walnut.
That's a miracle pill?
The chocolate coating makes it go down easier. You have to wait 15 minutes for full potency. And you shouldn't go swimming after for at least, what?
An hour.
Yeah, an hour.
Good hour, yeah.
Thank you for everything.
Okay.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Hey, you think it'll work?
It'll take a miracle. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Soon the two of them were just outside the castle gate, Fennic carrying Wesley with ease. Much to his surprise, however, when he looked upon the gate, there was twice as many guards as before. There was twice as many guards than there were before.
Inigo, there's more than 30.
Difference. We've got him. Help me here. We'll have to force feed him.
Has it been 15 minutes?
We can't wait. The wedding's in half an hour and we must strike in the hustle and the bustle beforehand. Tilt his head back. Open his mouth.
How long do I have to wait before we know if the miracle works?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I'll beat you both apart. I'll take you all together.
It's not very long.
Why won't my arms move?
You've been mostly dead all day.
We had Miracle Max make a pill to bring you back.
Who are you? Are we enemies? Why am I up on this wall? Where's Buttercup?
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up. Buttercup is marrying Humperdinck in a little less than half an hour, so all we have to do is get in, break up the wedding, steal the princess, make our escape after I kill Count Rugen.
Well, that doesn't leave much time for dilly-dallying.
You just wiggled your finger. That's wonderful.
I've always been a quick healer. What are our liabilities?
There is but one working castle gate, and it is guarded by 60 men.
And our assets?
Your brains, basic strength, my steel.
That's it? Impossible. If I had a month to plan, maybe I could come up with something, but this?
You just shook your head. Doesn't that make you happy?
My brains, his steel, and your strength against 60 men, and you think a little head jiggle is supposed to make me happy? I mean, if we only had a wheelbarrow, that would be something.
Where did we put that wheelbarrow the albino had?
Over the albino, I think.
Well, why didn't you list that among our assets in the first place? What I wouldn't give for a Holocaust cloak.
There we cannot help you.
Will this do?
Where did you get that?
Miracle Max's. It fits so nice, he said I could keep it.
All right, come on, help me out. Yeah. Now, I'll need a sword eventually.
Why? You can't even lift one.
True, but that's hardly to common knowledge, is it? Yes. Thank you. Now, there may be problems once we're inside.
I'll say, how do I find the Count? Once I do, how do I find you again? Once I find you again, how do we escape?
Don't pester him. He's had a hard day.
Right. Sorry.
Inigo.
What?
I hope we win.
And with that, the three of them sneak away to put together their plan. Meanwhile, back inside the castle, Buttercup brushes her hair in the bridal suite, looking radiant as ever, especially in her wedding gown, all the while being observed by Prince Humperdinck.
You don't seem excited, my little muffin.
Should I be?
Brides often are, I'm told.
I do not marry tonight. My Wesley will save me.
As Buttercup exits her chambers, Humperdinck lets out the most despicable grin. Outside, Inigo, Fennic, and Wesley have finalized their plans and joined hands. They are ready to begin. The wedding ceremony began with great fanfare. The small but elegant chapel was filled to capacity. The old king walks Buttercup down the aisle and presents her to Humperdinck.
Knowledge is what brings us together here today. Knowledge of blessed arrangement, a dream within a dream.
As the clergyman continued his speech, the guests could hear frantic voices outside. "Stand your ground, men! Stand your ground!" Before them, clad in large black hooded robes, stood Fennic. Slowly, he seemed to float toward the guards, who were all scared and confused.
I am the dread pirate Roberts. There will be no survivors.
Little do they know that what is actually happening is Inigo slowly wheeling Fennic toward the crowd. Not an easy feat considering Fennic's size, not to mention having to lug around an immobile Wesley on his back as well.
Now?
Not yet.
I am here, and I am here, but soon you will not be here.
Now?
Light him.
Inigo took a candle and set the long black cloak ablaze. The guards are now frantically running about, scared out of their minds.
The dread pirate Roberts takes no survivors. All your worst nightmares are about to come true.
Meanwhile, back at the chapel.
And love, to love, still love, fellow, you forever. The dread pirate Roberts is here for your souls.
Stay where you are! I said stay where you are! But it's no use. There's too much chaos all about.
So treasure your rule.
Skip to the end.
Have you the wing?
Here comes my Wesley now.
Your Wesley is dead. I killed him myself.
Then why is there fear behind your eyes?
With all the guards gone, our three heroes have cornered Yellen.
Give us the gate key.
I have no gate key.
Fennic, tear his arms off.
Oh, you mean this gate key? However, they may already be too late.
And you, Princess Boa Clerk?
Man and wife. Say, man and wife.
Man and life.
Escort the bride to the honeymoon suite. I'll be there shortly.
He didn't come.
With a few soldiers following behind, Rugen made his way toward the castle entrance. Upon turning the corner, they were confronted by Inigo, sword in hand, with Fennic and Wesley close behind.
Kill the Dark One and the Giant, but leave the third one for questioning.
The warriors attack Inigo, but to no avail. With seemingly effortless speed and agility, Inigo dispatches all of the other warriors in less than 10 seconds, leaving Rugen all on his own.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Inigo settles into a fighting stance. Rugen seems ready to take him on, except not, as he instantly turns around and runs away. Inigo gives chase, leaving Fennic and Wesley a bit confused. Rugen makes his way to a door and locks it behind him just before Inigo can reach it.
Fennic, I need you!
I can't leave him alone.
He's getting away from it, Fennic! Please! Fennic!
As quickly as he can, Fennic leans Wesley against a new nearby statue.
I'll be right back.
Fennic hurries down the hall and around the corner. He finds Inigo frantically hurtling himself against the door, trying desperately to break it down with his momentum, but the door is too thick. Suddenly, Fennic gently holds Inigo back, then smashes the door down with just one hand, politely gesturing Inigo to go ahead.
Thank you.
And as Inigo continues to chase down Rugen, Fennic returns to pick up Wesley. Nearby, the king and queen are escorting a distraught Buttercup to the honeymoon suite.
Strange wedding.
Yes, a very strange wedding. Come along.
Buttercup gently stops the king and places a kiss on his forehead. He is very surprised and pleased.
What was that for?
Because you've always been so kind to me. And I won't be seeing you again, since I'll be killing myself as soon as we reach the honeymoon suite.
Won't that be nice? He kissed me.
Meanwhile, Inigo continues closing in on Rugen. Elsewhere, Fennic returns to where he left Wesley, only to find that he has mysteriously vanished. Uncertain of what to do now, Fennic stands there contemplating. Rugen quickly stops his running and retrieves a small knife from inside his boot, then proceeds to the center of a nearby banquet hall. Shortly after, Inigo turns the corner and sees Rugen, but has no time to react as the knife flying towards him, which lands right into his stomach all the way to the hilt. Shocked by the pain, Inigo falls back against the wall.
Sorry, Father. I tried.
You must be that little Spanish brat I taught a lesson to all those years ago. It's simply incredible. Have you been chasing me your whole life, only to fail now? I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard. How marvelous.
Distraught and weak, Inigo can do nothing but sit in pain. Buttercup made her way to the honeymoon suite, looking ever so heartbroken. True to her word, she sits by her desk and opens a small box. Inside is an elegant dagger, which she raises to her chest, fully prepared to plunge it into her heart until...
There's a shortage of perfect breasts in this world. It'd be a pity to damage yours.
Oh, Wesley, darling! Wesley, why won't you hold me?
Gently.
At a time like this, that's all you need to say, gently?
Gently! Oh.
Back in the banquet hall, Inigo has mustered all the rest of his strength and yanks the knife out of his gut. Rugen looks on with confusing awe.
Good heavens! Are you still trying to win? You've got an overdeveloped sense of vengeance. It's going to get you into trouble someday.
Rugen approaches Inigo, draws his sword, and plunges it straight into Inigo's left arm. Yet Inigo has no reaction. Then Rugen stabs Inigo's right shoulder. Still no reaction. With blood all along his body, Inigo gets up and moves toward Rugen, vengeance burning in his eyes.
No. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Rugen tries to fend him off with a few sword swipes, but Inigo deflects them all with ease.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Inigo keeps moving closer and closer to Rugen like a ghost. Rugen, in a fit of unexpected panic, tries his best to fend him off, but none of his sword skill are any match against the skills of Inigo Montoya.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Stop saying that!
With great speed and agility, Inigo deflects Rugen's sword and stabs him straight into his left arm. Another deflection later, Inigo stabs his right shoulder. Now it's a fair fight.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
No!
Inigo has Rugen cornered. Without a second thought, Inigo takes his sword and cuts Rugen on both cheeks.
Offer me money.
Yes,
Power to promise me that.
all that and more. I promise, please.
Offer me anything that I ask for.
Anything you want.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
And with that triumphant cry, Inigo plunges his sword into Rugen's gut. The pain quickly swells over Rugen's face. Then, in a matter of seconds, Rugen falls dead. Inigo's vengeance has finally been fulfilled. With that, Inigo makes his way through the castle in search for the others. Meanwhile, Wesley and Buttercup continue to celebrate their reunion.
Wesley, will you ever forgive me?
What hideous sin have you committed today?
I got married. I didn't want to, it just all happened so fast.
Never happened.
What?
It never happened.
But it did. I was there. This old man said man and wife.
Did you say I do?
Well, no, we sort of skipped that part.
Then you're not married. If you didn't say it, you didn't do it. Wouldn't you agree, Your Highness?
A technicality that will shortly be remedied. But first things first, to the death.
No! To the pain.
I don't think I'm quite familiar with that phrase.
I'll explain it. And I'll use small words so you will be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
That may be the first time in my life a man has dared insult me.
It won't be the last. To the pain means first thing you lose will be your feet, below the ankles. Then your hands, the wrists. Next, your nose.
And then my tongue, I suppose. I killed you too quickly the last time, a mistake I don't mean to duplicate tonight.
I wasn't finished. The next thing you lose will be your left eye, followed by your right.
And then my ears, I understand. Let's get on with it.
Wrong! Your ears you keep, and I'll tell you why. So that every shriek of every child at seeing your hideousness will be yours to cherish. Every babe that weeps at your approach, every woman who cries out, "Dear God, what is that thing?" will echo in your perfect ears. That is what the pain means. It means I leave you in anguish, wallowing in freakish misery forever.
I think you're bluffing.
It's possible, pig. I might be bluffing. It's conceivable, miserable vomitous mass. I'm only lying here because I lack the strength to stand. And again, perhaps I have the strength after all.
Then, without hesitation, Wesley gradually stood up. Humperdinck could not believe what he was witnessing. Like a demon rising from the dead, which only became more terrifying to him when Wesley raised his sword, ready to fight, only to utter 3 simple words.
Drop your sword.
And just like that, without question, Humperdinck did what he was told.
Have a seat. Tie him up. Make it as tight as you like.
A moment later, Inigo arrives to the honeymoon suite.
What is Fezzik?
I thought it was with you.
No,
Well, in that case, whoa.
help him,
Why does Wesley need helping?
because he has no strength.
I knew it. I knew you were bluffing. I knew he was bluffing.
Shall I dispatch him for you?
Thank you, but no. Whatever happens to us, I want him to live a long, life alone with his cowardice.
Inigo, Inigo, where are you?
Confused and uncertain, our heroes made their way to the window. When they opened the shutters, they saw Fennic down below waiting for them. With what a wonderful surprise!
Ah, there you are. Inigo, I saw the prince's stables, and there they were, 4 white horses. And I thought, there are 4 of us. If we ever find the lad, hello, lad. I took them with me in case we ever bumped into each other. I guess we just did.
Fennic, you did something right.
Don't worry, I won't let it go to my head.
Wesley gestures for Buttercup to go first. She gracefully leaps out of the window towards Fennic, her dress billowing and flowing in the air like flower petals in the wind. Fennic catches her in his large, welcoming arms. Then Wesley gestures Inigo to follow.
You know, it's very strange. I've been in the revenge business for so long. Now that it's over, I do not know what to do with the rest of my life.
Have you ever considered piracy? Make a wonderful Joe Pirate Roberts.
They rode to freedom, and as dawn arose, Wesley and Buttercup knew they were safe. A wave of love swept over them as they reached for each other.
What?
Now it's kissing again. You don't want to hear it.
I don't mind so much.
Okay. Since the invention of the kiss, there have been 5 kisses that were rated the most passionate, the most pure. This one left them all behind. The end. Now I think you want to go to sleep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So long.
Grandpa? Maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow.
As you wish. The end.
Yeah!
Well done, everybody. Well done. Thank you for everyone for coming on. Oh my goodness, what a performance! What a show! That was so well done. I'm super proud of our cast.
My mom. Thank you.
I feel it. I'm so proud of you guys. You know, this was such a brilliant performance. You know, at this point, again, you know, the audiences loved it. I loved it. My dad even watched a little bit of it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is fantastic. One of my favorite movies of all time. And you guys are doing such an amazing job." So, again, kudos to everyone. A round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done.
Thank you.
And then for all of our audience members as well, thank you so much for coming on to this performance. Our actors worked really hard to do this, and they did nothing but just nonstop work on it and really just got themselves in the characters. And again, I really appreciate us, you guys, the audience. I appreciate my cast. Thank you for everyone for coming on. And we will do more performances like this, more readings that Mental Paint Productions is super passionate about, or scripts that they were super, into, or perhaps even recommended or suggested. And at this point, we will have another performance tomorrow. That will be with Nell and I. And if you guys are interested in watching it, it is a kind of a raunchy British comedy and is quite interesting. That will happen tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Yes, p.m. I don't know where my brain just went. But again, thank you for everyone for coming on. At this point, the performance is over. For all my cast, if you can stay on for just a little bit longer, I wanted to also talk to you as well. But again, thank you everyone for coming. Cast, thank you so much for your performance. You did such an amazing job.